Now, this is a brave person. Someone is saying the Matildas are actually not good role models for young Australians. Now, I know it sounds off, but I think there's a bit of a point to this. Griffith University Associate Professor Paul Williams has written a piece in the Daily Telly today, and he says Australia is an underachieving nation proud to put sport before intellect. Now, it is very controversial, Kelly, because they're incredible, but is it putting too much of an emphasis on the field performance?
No.
I'm not saying they're bad role models, but I see what he's saying. If we're kind of teaching our kids that this is the ultimate, it's amazing. But if this is the ultimate, does it come before all other pursuits?
No,
what do you think?
I disagree entirely with his premise. I call rubbish on it because, and that's the nicest thing I can say.
Love that.
Look, the thing is that we should be able to celebrate the Matildas. We should be able to celebrate sport in this nation, which we do so well. It should lift us to achieve, not just in sport, but in academics and other. And if he thinks the Matildas are the problem with our education system, then he's not as smart as he makes out to be. Our education system is in all sorts of trouble. We are letting down our children, and it is not the Matildas that are doing it.
Was he really saying that, though, Ange? I mean, was he really saying that it's the Matildas' fault, or was he just saying that we as a society place too much importance on sporting pursuits and teams like the Matildas in terms of who we look up to, rather than, say, you know, a researcher or someone like that?
Look, and look, I think his opinion piece is very basic and very binary. It's not one or the other. It's not sport or intellect. He cites countries like Estonia, Finland, Korea. Now, the key difference, and Kelly pointed to this, is the way that they uphold education in their society. Teachers are paid well, they're respected, and that is not the case here. Now, we need to have a better approach to paying our teachers. I think we should be subsidising their HECS debts to encourage them into teaching. I think very much that if we want good teachers, if we want people, and Albanese went into the election saying that there would be a cohort of people with an ATAR result over 80% who would just be ushered straight into teaching, and that they would get free education in return for becoming teachers in the system. If we don't uphold education, and if we don't also focus on lower socioeconomic education, then we are never going to get back to the strengths and the heights of education that we need to. So I really didn't like this piece. I'm with Kelly. It was very distracting. It's not about the Matildas. And really, if you want to think about education in terms of perseverance and grit, then that's exactly what the Matildas have showcased to a generation of kids.
Yeah, you make a good point about the HECS subsidy. Some states are doing that with things like nursing. I think teaching certainly deserves to be in that group as well. Looking at these NAPLAN results that were released this week, almost 1/3 of Australian children, they're failing to meet the accepted standard for literacy and numeracy. 1 in 10 students need extra support to meet classroom expectations. It's a lot of help needed. So, Ange, you believe that is pay teachers more, improve the system. That's where the solution lies.
Pay teachers more, improve the system, but also bring parents alongside. We are a generation that's focused on productivity. In those 0 to 5 age group, the early learning time, that's when those pathways are laid down for learning. So let's focus on that, what we can do better. And let's also look at issues such as, you know, we were behind the 8 ball in terms of mobile phones in schools. A whole generation has gone through school, high school, particularly with mobile phones. And let's focus on bringing parents and teachers and the education department together to help them get their kids off gaming devices, get their kids off phones, and really re-energise learning and make it exciting.
And I think take it back to basics as well, Kelly. We try and get too complex, we try and get too ethical, we try and look at so many other things. Just stick to the basics.
Look, I couldn't agree more. And I do agree with Angela's point that teachers deserve to be paid more.
Actually, sorry, before you continue, let's just remind people where you came from before you entered Parliament.
Yeah, I've spent the last 8 years working in the education sector.
Yes.
Working with teachers every day, listening to their concerns, looking at the curriculum in depth. And what we do know is that although teachers, yes, they deserve to be paid more, Throwing money at education historically just hasn't worked. We need to get back to the basics. It's been really encouraging to see teaching trends shift back to explicit teaching, back to the basics curriculum, to focusing on maths and focusing on literacy. That's what we need to do, and we need early intervention. And this was a coalition government in New South Wales approach last election, providing pre-K learning so that we lift all 4-year-olds to the same standard. Now, if every kid can start school with the same opportunity, we're going to see those results in a decade from now. But at the moment, we are failing the most vulnerable kids in Australia.
It's a really good point. I've got a 5-year-old who starts school, big school as we call it, next year, and even going through kind of parent-teacher nights where we go and have a look at the school, and a lot of parents said, what if my child can't do this yet? What if my child can't do that yet? Some kids have been in preschool 4 days a week. Some kids haven't been to preschool at all. And that then impacts everyone's learning, doesn't it? If kids are rocking up not having any basic skills and the teacher is then having to help them and the other kids kind of get left behind a little bit. You're right, there's something to be said for having every child ready at that 4 or 5-year-old
And it's not about drilling the alphabet into them, not about teaching them to add up. It's about learning how to learn. And that's that play-based learning that's critical for 4-year-olds.
Yeah.